I stared at my phone in disbelief, reading the text message over and over again. They're sleeping anyway. Don't be such a worrywart. The wedding's only a few hours. My hands trembled with a mixture of fear and rage as I tried calling my mother-in-law for the 5th time, straight to voicemail. My name is Olivia, and at 32, I never imagined I'd be racing home from a work emergency to find out my mother-in-law had abandoned my toddlers to attend her friend's wedding. When I called her that morning, desperately needing help because my usual sitter was sick and I had to handle an urgent product recall at the pharmaceutical company where I worked, she acted like I was burdening her with my children. Fine, I'll watch them, she'd said with a heavy sigh, but only because James would be upset if I didn't. James, my husband, was away at a medical conference in Boston. He'd been gone for 3 days, and his mother had made it clear she blamed me for his career taking him away from home. Now, sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, I called my neighbor, Margaret. Can you please check on my kids? My mother-in-law was supposed to be watching them, but she just texted that she left for a wedding. She did wait. Margaret's voice rose in shock. I'm heading over right now. I have your spare key from when you were on vacation. The next 10 minutes felt like hours as I inched along the highway. Finally, Margaret called back. Olivia, I'm with Emma and Lucas. They're okay, just watching TV, but they're alone. There's not even dinner prepared for them. How long until you can get here? 20 minutes, I said, fighting back tears of relief and anger. Please stay with them. I'll pay you whatever. Don't you dare, Margaret cut me off. Just get home safely. And Olivia, you need to do something about this. It's not okay. She was right. This wasn't the first time Patricia, my mother-in-law, had shown complete disregard for my children's well-being. Last month, she'd forgotten Lucas's peanut allergy and tried to feed him a peanut butter sandwich, then accused me of being dramatic when I got upset. The month before that, she'd let Emma play unsupervised in a front yard because kids need freedom, only for my neighbor to find her wandering toward the street. When I finally pulled into my driveway, I found Emma and Lucas curled up with Margaret on the couch, watching their favorite cartoon. Emma, my 4-year-old, jumped up when she saw me. Mommy, Grandma said we were being bad so she had to go to a party. My heart clenched. Lucas, just 3, nodded solemnly. We tried to be good, Mommy. I hugged them both close, breathing in their familiar scent of baby shampoo and the strawberry soap they loved. You weren't bad at all, sweethearts. Grandma was wrong to leave you alone. So wrong. After getting them fed and settled in bed, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, methodically documenting everything. The text messages from Patricia, timestamps of my calls, and Margaret's witness statement about finding the kids alone. I'd learned from my years in pharmaceutical compliance that documentation was everything. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Patricia. Wedding was fabulous. The bride looked stunning. Don't wait up. Going to the after party now. Kids are probably asleep anyway, lol. I took a screenshot of the message, adding it to my growing file. Then I made 2 calls, one to my lawyer, Sarah Chin, and one to the non-emergency police line to file a report about child abandonment. The dispatcher's voice was sympathetic but professional as she took down the details. Around midnight, I heard a car pull up outside. Through the window, I watched Patricia stumble slightly as she made her way up the walk, still wearing her party dress and heels. When she tried her key in the lock, she found it wouldn't work. I had engaged the deadbolt. I opened the door, standing firmly in the doorway. Patricia's face was flushed from drinking, her carefully styled hair starting to wilt. Oh, you're still up. The wedding was wonderful. You should have seen. Your key won't work anymore, I said quietly, and you won't be watching my children again. Ever. She blinked, clearly thrown by my calm demeanor. Don't be ridiculous, Olivia. They were perfectly fine. You're always so overprotective. You left a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old alone for hours. I cut her off. No food, no supervision after telling them they were bad. Do you have any idea what could have happened to them? They were sleeping. She protested, her voice rising. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. Wait until James hears about how you're treating me. Oh, James will hear about it, I assured her. He'll hear about everything, including the police report I just filed. The color drained from her face. Police report? You didn't. I did, and that's just the beginning. I stepped back, starting to close the door. You should get a lawyer, Patricia. You're going to need one. You can't do this, she shrieked, suddenly looking much more sober. They're my grandchildren. They're my children, I corrected her. And you left them alone so you could go party. Actions have consequences. You'll learn that soon enough. I shut the door on her protests, engaging both locks. Through the door, I could hear her continued objections, but I didn't respond. Instead, I went to check on my sleeping children, watching their peaceful faces and letting their gentle breathing calm my racing heart. My phone buzzed again, a text from James. Just got out of today's conference sessions. Everything okay at home? I took a deep breath and typed. We need to talk. Your mother left Emma and Lucas alone for hours to go to a wedding. Call me when you can. Then I sat down at my laptop again, continuing to document everything while waiting for what I knew would be a very difficult conversation. Patricia had no idea what she'd set in motion with her selfish choice, but she was about to find out. No one endangered my children and got away with it. No one. The call from James came at 6 a.m. the next morning. I barely slept, spending most of the night gathering evidence and exchanging emails with my lawyer. This has to be a misunderstanding, James said immediately. Mom would never. Check your email, I interrupted. I sent you everything. The texts, the police report, statements from Margaret. She left our babies alone, James. For a wedding she never mentioned attending. There was a long pause as I heard him clicking through the files. Then his voice changed. She told them they were bad and went to an after party. Keep reading, I said quietly. Another pause. The police report. Olivia, did you have to go that far? She's my mother. And there are children, I replied, keeping my voice steady. What if there had been a fire? What if Lucas had an allergic reaction? What if someone had broken in? I heard him inhale sharply. Finally, he said, I'm catching the next flight home. True to his word, James walked through our door 6 hours later, looking exhausted. The kids ran to him excitedly, and I saw him hug them tighter than usual, probably imagining what could have happened. We'd barely gotten them settled with lunch when Patricia arrived, bursting through the front door without knocking. James, thank goodness you're home. You won't believe what your wife is doing. Stop. James's voice was firm in a way I'd never heard him use with his mother. I've seen everything, Mom. The texts, the police report. How could you leave them alone? Patricia's face crumpled into a practiced sob. They were sleeping. I only went because Diane begged me to come to her wedding. I've been friends with her for 30 years, and now Olivia's trying to turn you against me. By telling me the truth, James cut her off. You abandoned my children, then went to an after-party instead of coming back to check on them. I knew they'd be fine, Patricia protested. You've turned into such a helicopter parent since marrying her. When you were little, I left you alone all the time. What? James exploded. I'd never seen him this angry. You're admitting you did this to me too. Patricia seemed to realize her mistake, backpedaling quickly. That's not what I meant. Times were different then. But these kids are so sheltered. Get out. James's voice was cold. Now, and don't come back until we contact you. But James. Out. After she left, James sank onto the couch, head in his hands. I had no idea, he muttered. All those times when I was a kid, when I thought I was being independent, she was just leaving me alone. I sat beside him, taking his hand. I'm sorry, I know this is hard. Don't apologize. You did exactly what you should have done. He squeezed my hand. What happens now? I've already filed for an emergency restraining order, I told him. Sarah thinks we'll get it, given the police report and documentation. After that, it's up to you, but I don't want her alone with our children ever again. James nodded slowly. Agreed, but you know she won't accept this quietly. He was right. Over the next few days, Patricia launched a full campaign to paint herself as the victim. She called every family member, spinning a tale about how I was cruel and controlling, turning her own son against her over one tiny mistake. But she didn't count on Margaret. My neighbor had already shared the story with our local moms group, and several women came forward with their own stories about Patricia's negligent behavior with their children. Times she'd ignored allergies at group playdates, let kids do dangerous things while babysitting, or made inappropriate comments about overprotective parents. The evidence kept mounting. James's sister called, tearfully admitting that she'd stopped letting Patricia watch her kids years ago after a similar incident. "I should have warned you," she said. "But Mom's so good at making you feel crazy for setting boundaries." Then Patricia made her biggest mistake. She posted a long rant on social media about modern parents being too soft, bragging about how she left James alone all the time as a child, and he turned out fine. "Screenshot that," Sarah advised when I called her. "It's an admission of a pattern of behavior. The judge will be very interested." By the end of the week, we had our emergency restraining order. Patricia wasn't to come within 100 feet of our home or the children's schools. When she was served with the papers, she showed up at our house, screaming about grandparents' rights. I filmed her entire meltdown from behind our security camera, adding it to our growing file. James watched from the window, his face hard. "I always wondered why I had so many memories of being alone as a kid," he said quietly. "I thought I was just independent, strong." I took his hand. "You are strong, strong enough to break the cycle." We'd won the first battle, but we both knew this wasn't over. Patricia wasn't used to facing consequences for her actions. But she was about to learn that when it came to protecting our children, we were prepared for war. 3 weeks after the wedding incident, Patricia launched her final desperate attempt to regain control. I was at work when my phone exploded with messages from other parents at Emma's press school. "Your MIL just tried to pick up Emma." She was screaming about her rights when the school refused. My hands shook as I called the school. The director confirmed that Patricia had shown up during pickup time, demanding to take Emma home. When they showed her the restraining order on file, she caused such a scene that they had to call the police. "Emma's safe," the director assured me. "But you should know your mother-in-law was filming everything on her phone, saying she'd show the world how we're all conspiring against her." Sure enough, an hour later, Patricia posted a heavily edited video on social media. It showed her crying, pleading to see her granddaughter while conveniently leaving out her threats to the school staff. "I'm being kept from my precious grandchildren," she wrote. "Share this if you believe grandparents deserve rights too." But her plan backfired spectacularly. The school had their own security footage, which clearly showed Patricia trying to force her way into the building. She'd also violated the restraining order, giving us exactly what we needed to make it permanent. "She's done," Sarah said when I forwarded her the school's footage. "The judge won't look kindly on this. But there's something else you should know. I did some digging after you mentioned James's childhood. There are old police reports about Patricia leaving him alone as a child. His father tried to use them in their divorce, but she convinced James to testify that he was mature enough to be alone. I felt sick. He was just a child. She manipulated him." "Exactly, and now she's shown she hasn't changed. I'm filing for the permanent order tomorrow." That evening, as James and I tucked our children into bed, Emma asked a question that broke my heart. "Daddy, was I bad? Is that why Grandma left us alone?" James gathered her into his arms. "No, sweetheart, you were never bad. Grandma made a very wrong choice, and that's why she can't see you right now. But it wasn't your fault." After the kids were asleep, we sat in the living room, going through old photos James had found. Pictures of him at 7, 8, 9 years old, always alone in an empty house. "I thought I was so grown up," he said quietly. "She'd tell me I was her special boy, so responsible. I never realized." My phone buzzed. Another message from Patricia, sent through a flying relative's phone since we blocked her number. "You've ruined everything. I raised James to be strong, but you've made him weak. Those children will grow up soft and useless because of you." James read the message over my shoulder, and something seemed to snap inside him. Without a word, he picked up his phone and started typing. Moments later, my phone pinged with a notification, a public social media post from James. To address the recent drama, my mother left my 3- and 4-year-old children alone for hours to attend a wedding. When confronted, she claimed she did the same to me as a child. She's right, she did. But that wasn't independence she was teaching me. It was neglect. The cycle stops here. My children deserve better. The response was immediate. Patricia's carefully crafted victim narrative crumbled as James's post spread through their social circle. More people came forward with stories, creating a pattern spanning decades. The final hearing for the permanent restraining order was almost anticlimactic. Patricia's own social media posts, the school incident, and the old police reports painted a clear picture. The judge didn't hesitate to make the order permanent. Your Honor, Patricia tried one last time. I just love my grandchildren so much. Everything I did was out of love. Mrs. Henderson, the judge replied sternly, love doesn't leave toddlers alone. Love doesn't violate court orders. Love doesn't attempt to abduct children from school. You've shown a pattern of dangerous behavior that spans generations. The order stands. Walking out of the courthouse, James took my hand. Thank you, he said softly. For what? For protecting our children, for helping me see the truth, for being strong enough to stand up to her when I couldn't. That evening we had a family movie night. Watching Emma and Lucas snuggled between us, safe and secure, I knew we'd made the right choice. They would grow up knowing their boundaries mattered, their safety was paramount, and most importantly, that their parents would always protect them. Patricia still tries to contact us sometimes through different relatives or fake social media accounts. But her power over our family is gone. She showed us exactly who she was that night when she abandoned our children for a party. We believed her and made sure she could never do it again.